Razorback basketball is everything in the state of Arkansas.
Stewart, right side, Thurman. He's open for three, good!
Arkansas is in home heaven. They won the first ever national championship.
There's not many SEC schools that are as close as Razorback football and basketball are. For me, growing up in this state, it's an important fiber to the natural state.
Madden, right side. Three-pointer on the way. No good. Close with the dunk at the buzzer.
With the way Arkansas is, there are no pro teams, and it's not a state that has other high major programs. Arkansas is the only one.
And the Razorbacks survive and advance. Arkansas wins it, and they knock off the defending national champions.
Eric Musselman was able to bring Arkansas back to a level of national relevance that they hadn't been in quite some time. I mean, it would have been 1996 since the last time the Razorbacks made a Sweet 16. When Eric Musselman came into town, his first season was cut short because of the pandemic, but in years 2, 3, and 4, he went to an Elite 8, an Elite 8, and a Sweet 16. He was 8-3 in the NCAA tournament. So everyone just felt like it was going to continue to grow, continue to build, and continue to be great.
You know, entering this season, they were a preseason ranked team. They brought in all these transfers. They had some good freshmen that they brought in, and they were coming off, their third straight Sweet 16. So expectations were high. They beat Purdue preseason in a preseason exhibition, and the crowd there was incredible. It was, right in the heat of football season, and it was almost a sold-out crowd at Bud Walton Arena for an exhibition game.
There was a lot of expectations for this team, and they just kind of tanked when the season started. Ended up going 16-17, the first losing season in Eric Musselman's career as a college coach.
The vibe around the program was down in the dumps. You not only do you come off Elite Eights and a Sweet 16 appearance and you don't make the tournament, but you don't even get an NIT bid. That's how terrible the program was. Not only that, but you had all this other stuff going on. Eric Musselman was rumored to be looking at other jobs.
I started reporting back in February. This guy was looking for other opportunities, even though jobs hadn't technically come open yet. You knew Louisville was, you knew a few of the West Coast jobs were, and I'd had it for a while from really good sources that Musselman was looking to move on after the season.
The fan base was kind of divided. He was being connected to so many different jobs. He was connected with Louisville at one point, Washington, SMU. So you had the fan base that was like, we need to do everything we can to keep Musselman. One down year doesn't mean anything. Then there was the section of the fan base that's like, well, if he's looking to get out, he needs to just go.
At the initial part of my reporting that he was looking to move on, I actually reached out for comment. And although I won't disclose everything that he said, what I will say is it was not a major point of contention. There was very little pushback on anything. And I'll throw a number out, 90 to 95% of what I was going through, there was no dispute on that.
As soon as that USC gig came open, a lot of people in the background at Arkansas said, well, he's gone. He's going to USC because he's an LA guy. It's where he's from. His mother's still out there in that area. And his father coached in the Big Ten. And the USC job going into the Big Ten, I think there's a lot of things that attracted to him to that job. And as soon as it came open, it was very clear that he was going to go after it.
Buckle up! Wait a minute, you're still here?
Hunter Yurachek released the video, and that was, him being on one of the buses on campus, Eric Musselman saying "buckle up," all this sort of stuff. And it was all great, and everybody expected, okay, cool. That means there's going to be some sort of announcement coming later, whether that's a contract extension, whether that's just a reaffirmation of Musselman being back. There's going to be some sort of announcement.
Obviously, when you look at the head coach in a video and you say you're still here, everybody's like, okay, well, Musselman's coming back. And so, I even tweeted, I was like, well, if it wasn't official that Eric Musselman is coming back to Arkansas, it is now.
We started quickly realizing that the video footage was old footage. It was when Eric Musselman signed a contract extension back in 2021. So the first part of that video was some old footage. And then you had the last part of the video where Hunter Yurachek says, "Wait, you're still here?" That was new.
There was a lot of word coming out from the program that, oh, hey, Hunter Yurachek did this without the permission of Eric Musselman.
Musselman had been quiet. Yurachek had been quiet. And then just out of the blue, this random podcast posted a clip of an interview with Hunter Yurachek. Nobody in Arkansas had ever heard of it.
Coach Musselman, much to his success, has been rumored for multiple jobs that have been open here in this offseason. There's not a new contract in place for him. He's still our basketball coach. Now, this may change tomorrow. You'll have to ask Coach Musselman that. That video was nothing more than an athletic director trying to have a little bit of fun with some fan bases and naysayers and saying, hey, Coach Musselman's leaving. Well, he may be leaving, but right now he's still here and he's still our basketball coach.
Wasn't exactly a call of confidence for Muss staying there, and people just didn't know what to make of it.
I've now looked back at it, and I'm wondering if, when he says, "Wait, you're still here?" that was him kind of saying, "I thought you went to go get another job."
The "you're still here" thing is, you're still here and you haven't left yet? Like, go ahead and get out of town, buddy.
What it sounded like is that Hunter Yurachek knew that Muss was not going to be around, but Hunter Yurachek also knew that they were going to get a big-time hire in order to replace Muss because of the money, because of the funding, because of the allure of the job. It just kind of showed the confidence that Yurachek had, as well as the administration, that, hey, if Muss wants to leave, that's fine. We'll be just fine because we're going to go out and get another great coach.
Good morning, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Jordan Moore. I'm the voice of USC men's basketball, and it's my pleasure today to usher in the proceedings to kick off the Eric Musselman era.
The Musselman news drops, and immediately out of just it was not even maybe an hour or two after it happened and it was official, Chris Beard's name started popping up like crazy.
Everybody knew Arkansas was going to try to go get Chris Beard. He had connections to the state. He coached at Little Rock, good friends with members of the Board of Trustees on the University of Arkansas. So, it was supposed to be a really, really straightforward coaching search.
Matt Norlander, Jeff Goodman, John Rothstein, these were people that are extremely in the know and plugged in college basketball, and they were coming out and saying that this is the number one target for Arkansas. From my understanding, it was all basically done. I mean, it was in the works and it was done, but there was an issue.
What I was hearing personally, I can't speak for other media members, is that Courtney, he has signed that contract extension. That's going to make it harder for Arkansas to get him. And so I kept trying to, dig and dig and dig and go, okay, has he signed the contract extension? What would that mean? Does anybody know what's in it? Well, eventually we found out because I think it was the Lexington Herald, and I could be wrong on that, did a FOIA request and got the document and said, nope, it is signed by him. That is official. So when I heard that, I said, I don't think it's Chris Beard.
After that, there was no other coach that was in serious contention because I believe the Jerome Tang rumors that were going around, in fact, I know this for a fact, that came from Jerome Tang's side. That was hey, let's get a raise, let's get a contract. That was just games being played.
It seemed like for a couple of days, Arkansas was kind of in panic mode because who else were they going to go get? Will Wade was a really hot name. I talked to people close to Wade who indicated, we're literally trying to get people close to Yurachek to get him to offer us the job. We want to be there.
I had heard all along that Arkansas was not going to be interested in Will Wade. No matter how much the fans wanted him, those NCAA sanctions were very restricting.
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey was not recommending the hire of Will Wade to the University of Arkansas. I don't think there's any way that he could necessarily block the hire, but I think he did not recommend it.
The Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, who they do great work here in Fayetteville, they put out a story saying that Arkansas is going to interview Chris Jans from Mississippi State and Darrell Walker from Little Rock. I mean, it was 100% as soon as that came out, a smokescreen.
When those came up, I immediately thought smoke screen, smoke screen, smoke screen. There is somebody bigger. And I was confirmed that night on Saturday night, there is somebody bigger. My source at ESPN said, Courtney, these are not who they're looking at.
I'm very proud and excited to announce John Calipari has agreed to become the men's basketball coach at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah, so he's been in Kentucky 15 years, so when he first got there, the intro in his press conference, which he learned from another Kentucky coach, Joe B. Hall, gave him the advice this was about a 10-year job. So Cal got here 2009, 2010, 18-year stretch, he went to 7 Elite Eights, 4 Final Fours, national titles, so that was as a successful run as you can imagine.
And the Kentucky coronation is complete. Champions 2012.
I go back to literally when he got hired at Kentucky, and they were starting to just rise to prominence, under him.
3-time Naismith Coach of the Year, 2012 National Champion, and 2015 inductee into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, presenting Coach Cal. John Calipari.
So when I look at Calipari, I think my biggest takeaway, he's a player's coach. It's always been about the players for him.
Number 11, John Wall. DeMarcus Cousins. Eric Bledsoe. Anthony Davis. 2 years ago, we talked about the Kentucky effect as we redefine college basketball, and more importantly, the lives of the players in this program.
I mean, the one and done, he brought that into the national limelight at Kentucky, and he basically said, I'm going to give players, basically a farm system for a year until they can go into the NBA draft.
I'm going to do something here. We had a reception early, and a bunch of players came back. I'm going to ask you guys to all come up here with me. This is from Kentucky, Memphis, and Massachusetts. I have learned throughout my career that coaching for fame and fortune is fleeting. At the very least, if you do survive, it will be empty because you're chasing numbers. On the other hand, if you make sure others eat first, you'll end up eating more than you can ever eat. You become a dream fulfiller. And what's better than that?
Early in 1920 and 21, you lost some key people that Cal really trusted. Kenny Payne, which everybody knows a little bit about him, kind of played the good cop to Cal's bad cop. John Robick was more of the offensive game plan guru guy. One that also gets touched on is Dwayne Peavy. He was associate basketball athletic director. He's kind of the intermediary between Calipari and Mitch Barnhart, who is the athletic director. I think it's kind of public knowledge that those two didn't have the best relationship, especially around 2021, 22. Cal really pushed for a practice facility. He was kind of upset that Kentucky didn't have the most up-to-date practice facility. And that's kind of what led to the infamous football school comments.
This is a basketball school. It's always been there. And so we need to keep moving in that direction and keep doing what we're doing.
Kentucky spent a lot of money in different areas, track and field, football, especially, like $200 or $300 million. Cal just kind of felt like this is a basketball school, basketball's kind of getting left behind. And when that happened, it kind of, any relationship that was there kind of just fractured.
Comments in an interview created, in my judgment, an unproductive and unfortunate situation. I know all of our coaches and our entire department understand the privilege that we have in representing this university and the state.
Just a lot of stuff happened in there, and something flipped, and it's not one individual thing. I think it's just kind of a culmination of things that kind of led to the disappointment in the last few years.
what I'd been told the whole time was there's a guy out there who's going to shock everybody. There's a big name coach that's interested in this job. Wouldn't give me the name, but that was what I was told from one source. From another source was telling me, hey, John Calipari is interested in this job.
They texted me, and they just texted me 2 words, genuinely, 2 words, Coach Cal. And I went, you are lying. You are smoking something. I want to know what's in the water you're drinking there, because clearly you are crazy.
I was out camping in small town of Mena, Arkansas for the solar eclipse that passed through. I get a text from someone said, hey, Coach Cal is an actual option in Arkansas. I looked at one of my buddies, I was like, look at this text I just got. There's no way this is true.
I hear Cal's name mentioned to me, and I'm like, all right, there's no way. There's no way.
Especially in Cal's like glory years here at Kentucky, he was tied to like several jobs. Like he was tied to the Cavaliers when LeBron was there. There was the Lakers job back in like 2016, 2017, and the UCLA job. So he's been linked to a lot of jobs. So over the years, Kentucky fans and media just kind of got numb to it. Like, yeah, he's linked to this job. I first heard like the Arkansas, he met with him. Like, I don't know about that. Like, it'd just be a weird, like, you've always talked about this being your dream job. You've been here 15 years. You're 64 years old. Like, what's going on?
You know, you get that text and you're like, whatever, dude. That's not true at all. That's never going to happen. And so I remember getting those texts and I didn't even believe, like, I didn't even respond. You know, like, I'm not going to respond to that. That's never going to happen. And then it started to get a little bit more serious.
John Tyson, who's the chairman of Tyson Foods, who pretty much provides chicken for anywhere you eat, including KFC, is very close friends with John Calipari. But they've been friends for nearly 30 years.
John Tyson is a billionaire. He's a guy that really took Tyson Chicken up another level after his father started the company, and former CEO, current chairman of Tyson Chicken.
So John Tyson and John Calipari are good friends. They've been friends for years. Every time he's in Fayetteville for a game, he brings him to Herman's Rib House. That's their place, their go-to spot. They love it. They go there. They've been great friends for a really long time.
I think a lot of people who have never stepped foot in this state and don't have any connection to this state, a lot of those people like to talk about the limitations that Arkansas has and what Arkansas is capable of. And a lot of times they're very wrong. And we see in this situation, you have a guy like John Tyson. You know, Arkansas is the home of the world's largest meat producer in Tyson Foods, the home of the world's largest retailer in Walmart, the home of J.B. Hunt Trucking. Tommy Kraft put it pretty well, I thought. He said, you know, Arkansas is the home of the guy that makes the Dino Nuggets. It's the home of the guy that ships the Dino Nuggets, J.B. Hunt Trucking, and it's the home of the guy that sells the Dino Nuggets.
You know, what's crazy about all this is that what happened after this Arkansas job came open almost mirrors what happened 17 years ago for Arkansas. When Arkansas fired, at that time, Stan Heath, Arkansas wanted to go get a big-name coach. John Tyson tried to convince John Calipari to leave Memphis at that time to come to Arkansas and take over. But at that point, John Calipari had Derrick Rose coming into his program and had a stacked roster. He thought he could go to win a championship, and they went to the national championship game that very next season. And so 17 years later, the Arkansas job comes open, and John Tyson steps in with Arkansas Athletics Director Hunter Yurachek and goes, I'm going to try and connect you with John Calipari just to kind of get his feelings on the job and maybe some candidates you should go after. Calipari talked to John Tyson, and Calipari says, I'm not going to say no to John Tyson. If he wants my feedback, I'm willing to help. And it just so happened that Hunter Yurachek and John Calipari were both in Phoenix for the Final Four. So John Calipari said, come to my hotel room and let's talk about your job. In the back of Yurachek's mind, he's thinking, I want to ask him if he would take this job. But he went in there, and the first half of the conversation was, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this position? Who do you think would be interested, and who would you recommend? And John Calipari, for about 15 to 20 minutes, just gushed about the Arkansas job. And Calipari, if you've talked to him 25, 30 years ago, all the way through, he's had great respect for Arkansas and has always kind of wanted the job, but things have never really lined up timing-wise for whatever reason. At the end of that conversation, Yurachek went, okay, give me some candidates, gave him some candidates. And he goes, all right, so you were just gushing about this job. Why not you?
I mean, at Kentucky, they're over me. They wanted me out of town for a while. I've been there, I've had success, but there's a lot of toxicity. There's not a lot of support. People don't feel good about me here anymore. I know I can still coach. The Arkansas job is a great job. I'm really close friends with John Tyson. Why not?
And so things kind of started to snowball. The conversations were had. Obviously, money, NIL. Arkansas right now, they're talking about an NIL package between $5 and $7 million. From everything I've seen or heard in college basketball, that'd be at or near the top.
John Tyson saying, hey, you don't have to go out and raise NIL money. It's just going to be there for you at Arkansas. It was a very intriguing prospect for him.
We're not talking about a garden variety coaching hire. We're not even talking about a home run. We're talking about a grand slam home run in the Arkansas Razorbacks pulling from a blue blood, the bluest of blue bloods, to get a already anointed Naismith Hall of Fame coach. Hell, that happened almost a decade ago. So you're bringing in the biggest name in college basketball to Arkansas, and those little sparks, those first initial conversations, John Tyson, Hunter Yurachek, and obviously John Calipari.
Saturday, right? He goes back and he thinks about it. And by Sunday, he knew he wanted to take the job. Obviously, Sunday afternoon, when you get that information, I went down into the rabbit hole. I'm like, who do I know? What sources do I got? Who can I call? And I was calling people all afternoon. I had a wedding that night. I was calling people at the wedding, no joke. I was trying to figure out if this was true. If you put Coach Cal's name out there and you're wrong, you are getting fired.
About 22 hours later, that really starts picking up traction. You see Wes Moore, Trice tweeting out, hey, this Calipari thing is real, it has legs.
Wes Moore, who we actually work with very closely at Fox 16, great guy. He actually had 2 more solid sources than I did. So he put it out there, and he was 100% correct.
When that news hit, that was bigger than the national championship game. It was the biggest news story, sports story in the country for days.
Phil, we have major breaking news in college basketball. Our Pete Thamel is reporting Kentucky's John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the next coach at Arkansas.
So John Calipari to Arkansas.
John Calipari is finalizing a deal to leave Kentucky after 15 years and head to Arkansas.
John Calipari going to Arkansas.
John Calipari, a very high-profile basketball coach at one of the highest-profile basketball programs ever. Kentucky has bailed on that school, and he's going to Arkansas.
There is no doubt that this is a home run hire for the Hogs. I don't think anybody thought they were going to get a coach of this caliber.
When it was all going down and it was officially announced and I saw him get off the plane there at Drake Field in Fayetteville, it was surreal. John Calipari has a rock star appeal that really no other college coach in any sport has. He is a guy that can walk into a room, everyone knows him, everyone sees him. He's a celebrity. He's as big of a celebrity in college sports as there can be.
Arkansas will now be the hot spot. Arkansas will now have the #1 recruiting classes coming in every single year. Arkansas will be full of celebrities. Arkansas will have the most talent coming in and out every single year. The machine will continue to go. It's just being a new place.
How about this guy right here?
It's insane to think that 10 months from now, I could be at a game, look over, and I could see Drake courtside. I could see SGA, Karl Anthony Towns. Like, that's wild to think of in Arkansas.
I think it puts all kinds of different lights on Arkansas. You as a fan base, you're gonna benefit, you're gonna ride that wave of his brand.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know if he's going to win a national championship, go to a Final Four. I don't know what the next few years will hold for Arkansas and Calipari. But what I do know, and that I can guarantee, is that while John Calipari is the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, they are going to be a program of intrigue to everyone.
it lights a fire under this program. Obviously, again, Eric Musselman did great things here, and you can take a step forward or take a step back. And Arkansas decided to take a big step forward with Calipari, a guy that's, is going to win. I mean, he always wins. He brings in big-time talent. He brings in 8 of his recruiting classes at Kentucky were number 1 ranked on 24/7 Sports.
I think John Calipari is blue blood. You know what I mean? Like, John Calipari brings blue blood with him wherever he goes. He brings a presence. When I was sitting in the press conference, I was like, this guy is a dominant presence. He commands a room.
It's me bringing everybody together, bringing a staff together, gathering people, getting a team to understand how you have to work. You ready for this? Together. Having a dream and a burning desire to compete for championships. Why am I here? That's why I'm here.
When NIL became legal a few years ago, I think a lot of us in the media and fans alike thought at some point there's going to be a mega booster out there that just gets their dream job of being the general manager. They're the Jerry Jones of their favorite college program. I'm going to throw money at this thing and we're going to build a team overnight. And I think a lot of the focus money-wise has been on college football. And it's so much more difficult for one person to build an 85-man roster because, one, that's going to cost a lot more money than in college basketball, where you maybe need 8 to 9 players really to build a championship roster just from the rotation aspect. And you can spend some good money and be able to spread that out and bring in some crazy talent. I thought that college basketball was perfectly set up with NIL for a mega booster to step in and go, let's go build a dream team here and let's go win a national championship. And really for the first time in 3 years, we're finally seeing that with John Tyson stepping up at Arkansas, getting John Calipari and providing a commitment for $3 to $5 million in NIL money on top of whatever else they're going to raise just from the excitement of hiring John Calipari from other boosters. So I think more programs and more boosters out there are probably going to be galvanized to see, oh, Arkansas just did this. Why aren't we doing that?
It's going to be remembered as the biggest hire in the history of Arkansas Razorback athletics. That only happens if you convince a Hall of Famer like John Calipari that Arkansas is a Hall of Fame place to coach. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. What we'll remember, the results, obviously, will impact his Arkansas legacy, but the hire itself, the getting out of the gates with it, it's the biggest thing around here ever in any sport.
To finish such a roller coaster with such a big hire, it really, when things get negative and sometimes you just want to get away and say, I'm so tired of all this right now, and then something like that happens and it just pulls you right back in.
What this to me will be remembered as is one of the biggest boosters and moneymakers here in the state of Arkansas who loves Razorbacks, basically putting his nuts on the table and saying, this is what we're going to do. We are going to show everybody exactly how we do things here, that we're not little old Arkansas, that all these people talk about who've never been here and do not know what we're capable of. This is the most incredibly shocking story in Razorback history. And for the first time, it's shocking for a good reason.
We were in a different age with Musselman. We're in a new age now. Arkansas is going to be regarded during this coaching search as a team, as a program, I should say, that cares about basketball. They care about winning national titles. They care about bringing A1 players. You're going to remember that Arkansas shot for the moon and got it.
Win or lose, Arkansas is going to be the talk of the college basketball world from now until the start of next season. So you're winning the offseason for sure. You got to see if you can get it done on the court.
I was speaking to Nolan Richardson when Calipari was hired, and Nolan still lives in Arkansas, and he said, listen, I've seen this all happen before, and where it's at right now, And Musselman was knocking on the door, and at some point, someone was going to kick that door down. And he says, John Calipari is a perfect person to do that. How many 65-year-old Hall of Fame coaches still have something to prove? We haven't seen that in college basketball, or for that matter, college athletics. Could you imagine if Nick Saban and his relationship at Alabama started souring there because they hadn't won a national championship in a few years? And he said, you know what, instead of retiring, I'm going to go to, Clemson, or I'm going to go to Texas. I'm going to go win me one more national title. I think that's how you equate this in a lot of ways. A rejuvenated coach who feels loved once again for the first time really in 5 years. And now that you've got a guy who's Eric Musselman on steroids when it comes to talent he can bring in, Arkansas is going to be very, very successful here in the very near future.